and welcome back to Sheer Fucking Hubris, a podcast started by three buddies who were once upon a time Star Trek fans, where we each week get together and talk about Star Trek. And this is another episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Hubris, where we watch 3 episodes from each of the 3 current series, that being Discovery, Picard, and Strange New Worlds, and then talk about it. We'll give you the good, the bad, and I guess the sheer fucking hubris. I am Joe Bob. Joining me is Mr. Willie.
Hello.
And Biblio Warden.
Yo.
Oh boy. And this week we are bearing down the stretch run. We watched the third to last episode.
Bearing down, huh?
We are bearing down.
Get some fiber in there, man. Okay.
What? Okay.
Never mind. It
was a poop joke, Joe Bob. The whole week's down the toilet this week anyway. You know, I got a proposal.
Oh God.
We all talk about how we enjoy when Star Trek is episodic and it didn't have anything to do with the main arc of the show. Why don't we just do that tonight? Let's just talk about some random shit that has nothing to do with the arc, and it'll probably be more enjoyable.
Well, Willie, you're actually in luck because none of the shows had anything to do with the season arc.
Oh boy.
Okay, so we watched the let's see, that would be I think it's the 11th episode of Discovery, season 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 7th episode each of Picard and Strange New Worlds.
Right.
And oh boy, what a week. What a week.
Well, we knew it had to happen eventually.
All right.
So let's don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I mean, nothing is perfect. And certainly Picard and Strange New World, Picard and Discovery are definitely not perfect. And then Strange New Worlds, it had to have one eventually.
I think Warden's just teasing something for later on.
I think he is too. Yeah.
Oh, let's start with Star Trek Discovery. Because this episode was very disco. It is continuing in the long line of throwing out an interesting premise and then doing fuck all with it. And then getting the final 2 episodes and throwing so much shit at you so fast that your brain hopefully doesn't have time to think about how little goddamn sense it makes.
Oh man, if only.
All right.
If only.
So this was.
I mean, just for reference, remember in season 1, this was the episode where they planted the bomb in Kronos, right?
Yeah, this was essentially the end of.
Because they had 2 more filler episodes afterwards. So maybe they learned from their mistakes and we're getting the filler episodes now.
Hi, Joe. So, this episode is called Rosetta, and it is based purely on a contrivance.
Mm-hmm. A contrivance that doesn't really work if you think about it too hard.
So, we get outside the galactic barrier last week, and Burnham says, well, there's a planet near the spooky field, whatever the fuck it's called. So we're gonna go there, and we're going to find something that helps us make first contact. How do you know that? What makes you think that?
I love the stream of assumptions in this episode that are just like, oh dear God,
is just one after the other. And the general theme of the episode is, once again, people talking about how much of a sense of urgency there is and how they're on the clock, and then walking around with their thumb up their ass 90% of the time doing fuck all. Including the one person I bragged on last week. I jinxed it because I was like, you know what? I'll say this for Tarka. he's at least got an objective and he's working toward it. And then this week they totally changed that up, and he's just like, Michael's got it. Because all right, let me recap.
Yeah. Don't get off course here.
So we find a rogue planet outside of the spooky field, and we're gonna go down there. And General Ndoye's like, we're on the clock here. Is that a good idea? And Burnham's like, yeah, I could be wasting your time, but I'm Michael Burnham and I read the script, so fuck right off, General.
This is gonna work because it has to work. I actually said that.
Yeah.
In the episode.
That is true.
It's like the writers did a first draft, and that was just out there in the margin, like, it'll work because it has to work. Okay, that must be dialogue.
It's a note, not a... Okay.
What would be fantastic is if they did all this and then got inside the spooky field, and they're like, and it's a totally different civilization. They're like, oh yeah, we killed those gas bag floaty bastards. They were our first victims.
They were too emotional.
They were icky.
Oh Christ! And President Scroob doesn't think it's a good idea to send.
Oh boy!
That's amazing.
Somebody tell me my ass was so big.
Sorry, continue.
Anyway, President
Which
Scroob
one is
doesn't
President Scroob? Federation?
Yes, I guess.
Who cares?
He doesn't think it's a good idea to send both captains, but Mike's like, fuck off, I'm Mike Burnham. In case anybody forgot, from the first season, I'm an exobiologist. The only one on the ship, apparently. Whatever.
Yes.
So they all suit up in outfits that they won't be wearing in 10 more seconds and do this slow-ass Armageddon stroll down to the dock with everybody on the sides giving high fives. And I don't even think it was in slow motion. I think they just walk that slow. I think they sauntered their asses down there. That's how much urgency anybody on this goddamn ship displays.
Is this when Adira was like, fly good?
Yes.
Oh,
that's
boy.
A reused joke from Pike. You remember when we made fun of how the characters were cardboard cutouts?
Yes.
And Pike got on there.
And now we miss it.
He was like, I can tell you're a great crew, Brohura. You keep answering the phone. Reese, you do what you do. Bot, you keep on botting, and Detmer, fly good. Yeah. Pretty sure he said that. We're like, he doesn't even know what the fuck they do.
Yeah.
Because how could he if none of the rest of us do?
So they get in their shuttle and they fly down, and Detmer doesn't even really have to fly good. And I guess they decided it was definitely the planet to go to because the system had a Dyson sphere built around the sun, or Dyson rings.
Mm-hmm.
And it used to be a gas giant, but it's not anymore. And they get down there and they find the big floaty gas. It's the planet of the Zerg overlords. Fallen lore overlords.
What I didn't get, gas giants don't have a terrestrial center, do they? That's the whole premise of a gas giant.
Well, I mean, we don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, for fuck's sake, like this is like Bespin Cloud City. Like it's not. There's nothing there. It's a gas giant.
Most. What I understood the case to be, and we're getting on a tangent, but hey, who cares? Is that it's actually metallicized hydrogen in the center because of the pressures. So that being the case, that it doesn't scan. I'm like,
well, look. This planet was lobbyists from Big Oil trying to say that hydrocarbon chains can make you feel good. That is all. How about that one? Oh boy!
Hang on.
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
They figure out that it's the gas, the king gas bag planet, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, well, there's a reinforced structure over there, so that's got to be the key.
Gotta
Be the key to communicate with the Tennessee. Because it has to be. Because I don't know why. But that's the plan. But along the way, Saru regrows his threat boners and starts tripping balls.
At which point we don't turn back. Because we've come too far.
Because
Right.
we've come to, we don't want to waste time. But we walk there instead of flying the shuttle there. Whatever. I want Earth and the VAR to get destroyed at this point. Fuck it. Then Culber starts tripping balls.
Mm-hmm.
And then Burnham starts tripping balls, and they're all afraid. Meanwhile, back on Discovery, Janet Reno, who I just goddamn love because she acts like she cares as much about this show as I do. Standing there drinking coffee with his jacket unzipped and like, wow, way to be cool about Detmer there. It's like, I get it, and Gray is away, a deep play. It's like, no, it's not like that. I just think she's super cool. It's like, well, Detmer's super fucked up too. Sometimes, sometimes after trauma, the what's below the surface may not be reflected on how you present yourself outwardly. She had to learn to deal with a lot of stuff. Then down on the surface, Detmer is the only one not experiencing the effects of this terror that seized the other three. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. They're calling that back, and because Detmer's had to really dig into her trauma and face it, like she is able to keep her composure when the others can't. And they're making some statement about like how powerful your trauma could be once you get a handle on it. And then they're like, oh no, fuck that. That would be interesting. It's just the dust. I'm like, damn it.
It's just the hydrocarbons.
It's just the hydrocarbons. Let me talk about the bass-ackwards construction of their environmental suits. No. Let me talk. No.
These people sweat hydrocarbons or pheromones. Like, holy shit! All right, go on, Joe Bob. Sorry.
They realize that their environmental suits, which are designed to maintain a certain environment within them, are the problem because they didn't know to blacklist this unidentified subject. I'm like,
man, that is.
Wait. You mean to tell me that instead of just whitelisting like oxygen, you have to create a firewall for everything else? That is the dumbest goddamn. The whole point of this suit is to keep everything out. But apparently, the filter is set to off until you identify that it's a hazard. I would have hate to have been the people testing that suit. But whatever, they realize that it's coming from the powder, so they shut off they turn on their filters. However, the EV suit starts doing what a suit should do, filters it out. They're like, oh, we must have experienced the terror they felt as their world was destroyed. Let's see what this place is. Oh, look, there's baby gas bags. It's a nursery. Let's see what the emotions. Let's see what the emotions feel like when children were dying.
I see blue. He looks glorious.
So of course Michael's got to be the one to test it out. Turn her suit off, and they discover probably the most expensive and sought after narcotic in the whole goddamn galaxy. It's like liquid joy. And we do the discovery thing where Detmer gives us like a 15-second backstory. I hate the way they pretend like these like quick little I want to lead the away mission because my planet was destroyed in a hurricane. I feel good because my daddy never made me feel good. I don't know what I'm feeling. Cry, cry, cry. It's so stilted.
It's like character creation on an RPG when you're just selecting your traits. I was abandoned as a young child.
Yeah, let me roll it.
If I could do one job,
D7, you were
would.
abandoned.
Oh boy!
Oh my god, it would actually make more sense if you told me Discovery was written with a D20. Okay, so they figure that out and they're like, bingo, now we know how to talk to him. I'm like, okay.
What?
You figured out that there are pheromones that make you feel a certain way, and that's our Rosetta Stone.
So your big insight into these people is that they have feelings.
And they say, maybe feelings are universal. I'm like, okay, really? Like, you know, like 1,000 different species, but this is the revelation here. Anyway, so that's going on the planet. And then meanwhile, up on the Transformerzoid, Book and Tarka have decided they have called the fuck all disease because they are doing fuck all this episode after being constantly on the move and working towards their objectives and being willing to just, not wait, go. They're like, Michael will find a way to get in. We'll just attach it to Disco. And I'm like, yeah, because
we gotta give Disco a virus first.
That works so good when Disco attached the cloak shuttle to you, but sure.
Well, this time it's consensual.
No, it's not. And Tarka's like, we'll just attach it to him like a parasite. And Book's like, no, not like a parasite.
Not a parasite. Oh, Jesus.
More third. And Tarka's like, semantics. Who the fuck cares, Book? Really?
He takes nothing and he brings no harm. Yeah, that was real dumb.
That is called commensalism, by the way, because I had to look that up.
Oh, well, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
Oh, they decide they're going to patch Zora because apparently Zora's just goddamn dumb. They're able to beam in because they're wearing a patch on their sleeve that hides their life forms, and Zora doesn't realize they're crawling around inside the ship. And Book says he has to go too for some reason. I don't remember why, but I don't think it made sense.
Because he was going to go talk to Ndoya, right? No,
that was not
he
the plan.
overhears that when he's there, yeah.
That was not the plan. He was going to help Tarka, and then he was like, fuck off. Because he used his X-ray goggles to spy into the mess hall because apparently it's close to engineering.
And then he's like, it was good to see Michael. Motherfucker, you saw her last episode. Like, when she was directly in front of you, somehow just talking to you through the window.
But he spies on the General and Tarina, who just happened to be in the perfect spot and happened to be talking at that moment about how they are maybe not trusting Michael.
Because
and maybe
again,
they shouldn't have.
There is no one on any of the hallways on this ship. There's like 12 people. I guess because you can beam everywhere, nobody walks anymore. It's like fucking Wall-E.
Nobody walks unless they're short on time and need to do the Armageddon strut to the shuttle bay. That was another thing. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? But, contrivance number 7 or whatever. They just happen to be having the discussion about how they might be open to taking a more aggressive approach. Right as Book looks in with his X-ray goggles. So he texts Ndoye and says, come to deck 15, be alone, and don't worry.
Wear something sexy.
No one's there anyway. And she comes down, and I don't know why the fuck she doesn't just immediately report him to security. Because this is the motherfucker that, shot a full spread of quantum torpedoes at her last week.
But even she acted out of character because then she's like, no, I fully trust Michael to do this. Bitch, like 5 minutes ago in the episode, you were going around having whisper conversations with people about not agreeing with this. But I don't know, man. Sister power. But it was. So he's gonna talk her out of it, right? He's gonna talk her into being his informant, right?
Yeah.
So.
And for some fucking reason, she agrees.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Tarka
after beating his ass a little bit, Yeah.
Meanwhile, in engineering, Tarka patches Discovery.
Can
by sabotaging the replicators, right?
and the only 3 people in engineering in this super critical moment decide to leave. Go ahead,
And
Warden.
I'm just gonna say, I'm not an IT guy, but I've supervised them. Malicious code is not a patch. That's a
Let's just-
virus.
I think they literally meant a Band-Aid because he didn't actually.
Yeah, no,
And like
I
Zora
agree with
can't,
Joe Bob. I think they were blinding a section. They were putting a
Zora
nicotine
can't.
patch on one side.
Zora also apparently doesn't know that that's going on. She doesn't realize Book's using X-ray spectacles. And then once again, my girl Janet Reno giving 0 fucks about this whole thing. She comes in and finds Starco's hiding under the console. Instead of being like, security, or trying to get the jump on him, she's just like, I'm guessing it's not my surprise party. And somehow allows herself to be very, very easily taken hostage.
Right. This was like the T-Rex piss on Jurassic Park. It's like, we don't want to explain how he somehow subdued her. We're just going to have her show up on the other ship. You know?
Yep.
Don't ask questions. This is how it happens.
Hey, you remember what Zora said her primary function was?
To make sure nobody got hurt.
And to monitor the crew and take care of them. And apparently she's not checking up on Janet Reno.
I guess not. Yeah.
Anyway, the DOT workers got sent down and they found 15 different kinds of powder. And that gives Stamets hope.
We can use 15 words now.
I have no idea how they're. Anyway, meanwhile, because
I
Michael
mean, what
Burnham,
we really should do is go get Riker at this point, because if we need somebody spreading pheromones to calm down somebody, this is the job that Riker was made for. I mean, he could walk up in his Hefner overcoat and
wing his leg over the chair from the back, and
be like, I smell compassion. He's like, yeah, just wait till you smell a little passion too. But, oh
oh
boy.
my god. Anyway, okay, so end of the episode's almost here. Culber, because Burnham is the apex predator of every fucking specialization on the ship, where does the counselor go when he needs counseling? He goes to Burnham, and she counsels him. Even though I feel like Culber's done this like 4 times already this season, where he's like, I'm not all right. And people are like, Culber, give yourself a fucking break. And he's like, but I can't. I want to be like Mike. I'm like, nobody can be like Mike. And while this is happening, Book is using his X-ray goggles to creep on Michael. It's so good to see her again.
Beating off in the turbo lift.
He's going full manual. Zora's like,
it's weird. The DOT's just found a 17th hydrocarbon chain. This one's actually on the ship.
The organic matter on the ship has increased by 0.01%.
Give me a second, it'll be 0.2.
And so he then beams back over to Tarka's ship, who's still doing fuck all, and Reno's there laying on a beanbag in the, I guess, the brig.
Like hedonism bot.
Yeah. Oh, bet you didn't expect to come back to a hostage, did you?
Yeah.
And there you have it.
But we're still
They're attached to the underside of Discovery like a goddamn remora.
Yes.
We've got
they
15 different shades of Coke. And we're finally going to get to the fucking part where we go through the goddamn barrier like we should have done first. And we have piddle-dicked around. What the hell was this episode? How is this the third from last?
This episode was an attempt to be scientific. That's all this episode was.
No, unless you're calling treading water scientific, which I guess you can.
No, it was. I'm telling you, it was to try and reach to feel like you got a Star Trek Away Team episode, which was dumb, right? we didn't need it. And I feel like even the characters of the show were like, this is not really helpful, but it's going to be helpful because we have to make it helpful, right?
So let me ask you guys a question. Is this the best episode of the season?
I'm trying to remember what other episodes we've had.
Because I'm going to be honest, it might be the best episode of the season. Because it's like half of an attempt at a Star Trek episode.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. It was like they just tried to do something that made you feel like it was a Star Trek away mission episode and all that.
Is there something, I mean, the whole beaming down and figuring out they communicate by pheromones and all of that, that's like kind of interesting. Like, I could see that being the first half of a Star Trek episode.
Yeah, and I'll admit I was halfway, even though I was giving them a lot of grace because that it was still pretty dumb. I was like, you know what? Even though this is stupid, at least they tried to come up with something, right? Like, okay, there's these creatures down here that left pheromones, and these pheromones we can figure out how to communicate, through these. Like, I was like, look, I'm giving it a wide berth here, but at least they're making an effort for this to feel like an away team mission.
Okay, well, see, Willie, I think the simple fact that you gave them a compliment that was not a sarcastic, backhanded compliment is proof enough. It's one of the top episodes of the season.
That's
Warden,
probably fair.
what is your pick for the good, the bad, and the hubris for this episode?
Jeez. The good is I kind of like what you were saying. I like that they tried. I think the hubris is that they honestly expected us to buy half of their explanations for any of this stuff. I mean, it's. I mean, because you're right. I mean, it's. They were trying to do a sciencey episode, and they just. I mean, the science just doesn't make any sense, and it feels unnecessary because I mean they could have gotten all of this in a different way. I am on board with the idea of like, okay, whoa, before we just completely rush full in to a first contact situation in which we have no knowledge at all. We have an opportunity to maybe learn a little bit something really quick here and get a little bit of context. Okay, fine. I don't buy that they got any of what they were claimed they would have gotten out of that, or that if they did, that it would have taken that much work. I
Or
just
that little.
or little, however you want to say it. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
part of me feels like everything they learned, they probably should, especially with God, what century are we in now?
Well, I was gonna say it
The
was like
censors
beaming down
should.
to the. It's like you beam down to Stonehenge and then go to Washington D.C. next, right? Like it, hey, we found all these hieroglyphs in Egypt, and we're gonna go put them on the president's desk. Like like I said, you had to give a pretty a gracious pass to the logic that we were having here, or the
I mean,
lack
there
thereof.
is still zero guarantee that it's even the same species. It
Right.
will be because of convenient. I mean, because writing, but they have
I
a.
and I actually appreciated how one person, and I don't remember who it was maybe it was Saru, was even like, it's possible these people know exactly what they're doing and just really don't care. Why is nobody really addressing that as a possibility here, right? Everybody thinks that it's uh they're doing this, they don't realize that we're going to go talk them out of it. You know.
Because
Nobody.
look, because Willie, it is blasphemous to go against what Michael Burnham says, and in Starfleet, we actively discourage anybody telling the goddamn truth. Because remember when Admiral Psychologist was like, "This is important. Don't screw it up," and President Scroob is like, "You can't say that." Do you know
Oh
how
yeah,
important it is? I'm going to need you to put on your happy face, sir. And then later on, when they're
Dr.
like, it's a
Harai.
Rosetta Stone.
Look,
and
God,
and he
look.
says,
She is the
Yes,
best
you're stealing my.
diplomat in 25 years. Whatever she says is the right thing to do.
No, but I mean that's
See-
like the that moment I appreciated more than anything, just because I'm like, it's the one time in this episode where they acknowledge the fact that they're calling it Rosetta Stone, but this is not a freaking Rosetta Stone.
Oh boy.
it would be like if the Rosetta Stone was just Egyptian hieroglyphs and they dug it up and smelled it. And they're like, well, now we know what they smelled like. What does that matter?
So we understand everything.
Oh, God. But President Scrooge gave him the school marm look. And he was like, but good job anyway. God damn it. I think we've touched on what could be considered bad about this episode.
A little bit.
I think we've talked some about what's good. I will say this. I think this episode would have bothered me a whole lot less if it had been like the third episode of the season.
Yeah, that's fair. But honest to God,
But we got next week is the penis ultimate episode.
right? Yeah, I mean it's that's what I don't get about this is it seems like and they did the same thing with the burn episode. We spent so much of the season trying to figure out what the problem was that now we're rushing through the solution, right?
Oh, do you remember
I-
season 2? The red light? When we're like, we got 2 episodes left. We've got to have a
5
huge
lights.
goddamn space battle and 5 lights left. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but I agree with you. Like, if they'd figured out, hey, we got to make contact with these people. We don't know who they are, what about them, and then they just started trying to do the digging. Like, yeah, you'd have given them, it would have been okay, right?
That
But-
would have been a far more compelling season. Would be figuring out how to communicate with them rather than whatever the bullshit we just watched for however many episodes.
Like the cliffhanger should have been, the cliffhanger ending of the season should have been when they blew up the first DMA, and then it reappeared, and they're like, oh fuck,
Yeah.
right? And then your whole next season, or even the mid-season finale was that, which maybe it fucking was, I don't know. And then like the back half of your season or the whole next season is figuring these people out and figuring out how to contact them, right? But
Yeah.
I don't know, we're rushing through it. I mean,
But-
you realize we have 2 episodes left to enter into a field which we have no idea what's on the other side, communicate with a species which we have never met before, coerce them to stop, crunchy all of our boronites, and then make it back home for a denouement. This is not going to happen. This is so typical Disco, right? We're going to just go balls to the wall. And I mean, fuck, I mean, who knows? Maybe Kaminar fleet's going to show up again. Who knows? Because we're not going to know how to solve any of this without going MacGuffin crazy here at the end.
I have my prediction.
Oh, I've got a prediction too.
Maybe it's not a prediction so much as how I would do it, which means it won't be that way. I think they're going to get in there and it's going to be the same species. But because like a theme of this whole season has been like trauma and emotions and dealing with all that bullshit, I think we're going to find the gas bags, but they're going to be like Vulcans and they will have like purged all their pheromones so they don't do emotion anymore. And Michael's going to talk to him and be like, because she's going to be the only goddamn person in the whole galaxy that's qualified to do it, because she'll be like, I am a child of Vulcan, but also a child of Earth. So I am both logic and emotion, and I've learned how to embrace both. And you have to learn to do that. And then she's going to like open up all the damn emotion cocaine so that they can feel again. But it's not going to work.
It's going to be like a pack of Fun Dip.
because
Here, try some
because-
stress.
because they don't know exactly the right concoction, and it's going to be like, oh no, we're just driving them crazy with random emotions, and that's when Book's going to come in and be like, Michael, I know how to talk to them, because he's the empath, and he talks to animals, and he's going to guide the right pheromones to the right places, and then maybe there's one king gas bag that's a dick, and they have to blow him up. And then they're going to use their wonderful technology to send Tarka to wherever he wants to go.
So that's probably not that far off from what's going to happen. One little tidbit that I didn't remember happening, and then when I was listening to some of our old episodes, because I am also sheer fucking hubris, is I was listening to us talk, and one of the episodes earlier this season when they analyzed Book's brain hole, they were like, we found something here that's not of our galaxy, like a trace element or something, right? I think Book's gonna enter this thing like fucking Dustin Hoffman entering the sphere, and he's gonna and this is gonna be his calling is how he's gonna get his recompense for Quajon, is he's gonna basically like become the emissary and talk to these people, because he's going to bridge the two worlds, because he's got a little bit of gas bag in his brain and all the empath stuff, and then he's got the human. And because the whole theme of this whole season to me has been Book saying, I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen to anybody else, and that's going to be how it's going to end.
That's
He's kind of going to be like the in between, the go between, the liaison.
I'm 100% on board with you that Book is going to have to tie the two together. Anyway,
and then
Gordon,
we'll get a nice whisper scene with Michael talking to Book before she has to leave him there.
that would be all right. I don't know if they'll. I don't know. What do you think, Warden?
They always
Really?
try to do what's unexpected.
I know, and they fuck it up.
And they fuck it up, yes.
So you're saying we're both wrong because that would be the expected thing, is to have a sensible ending?
No, I'm just thinking out loud that, you know, they always want to do something. They've always tended to do the emotional, like, deeply thought out and affirming whatever. And my vote is that they're actually going to try anyway to take it in a like radically rational and scientific route, where instead of trying to meet them on an emotional level or whatever, they're just like, it's a chemistry problem, and I don't know.
Just solve the fuel source issue.
Or the fuel source issue, or
Oh my God.
just how to communicate with them. Just make sure that we're getting the right combination of whatever, and it's all going to be like in the computer. And
Since another theme this season has been Mike and Book calling plays like, we're gonna do an Orion 7. What if she looks at Saru and is like, we're gonna do a Giorgio, and they just plant a bomb inside the planet, and they're like, if we see one more DMA, you fuckers, we are pushing this button, and you can kiss your gas bag ass goodbye.
Well, that'd be a Tarka at this point. We're gonna pull a Tarka. I mean,
Tarka didn't put that bomb inside Quonos.
They're gonna let Tarka find his buddy. There's no way Discovery can resist the urge to try and do that.
Maybe his buddy's already there. Maybe when he talks about Kylie's feeling like home and perfection, it's somewhere where they're snorting the dead alien nursery baby stuff.
Maybe so.
Does
Oh,
anybody else have anything to say about this episode of Discovery?
I don't think they're gonna let Tarka. I think Tarka's gonna. They're gonna intentionally make that ambiguous.
No, they're
They're gonna lean
They're gonna let him
heavily.
do it.
They're gonna make it ambiguous.
Either that, or he's gonna start the Dominion 2.0 because he's just gonna be sniffing like the Serenity powder, and it's just gonna make him feel like he's there. But I swear,
You know what would be really great?
what if somebody does get addicted to some of the feel good powders, and then we
Well,
start
it looked
making
like
commentary on drugs?
Detmer kind of was. She was lingering over it a little bit.
Yeah,
I know we've said this before. We've made this joke for like 4 seasons now, but wouldn't it be great if the spooky field contained like the Tartar dog civilization?
Well, no, it can't because the mycelial network doesn't go out that far. Remember?
well,
That's
no, it was
by
just frayed.
design.
It was frayed at the ends. Yeah, they just
Yeah, that's
maybe
because the Tartar dogs. They're like after
boy,
our scout Ripper
we
was
really
brutally
just
nipple
fucked up the
clamped,
tartar dog, didn't we? Just dropped that like a shot from a gun. Just boom. No more.
and we get King Ripper the 92nd. Roll, 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 Michael Burnham. Oh my
I
God, Star
forgot that
Trek.
we just vaulted him up out of the ship in the most singularly purposed device on a ship ever.
Send him to the Tartar dog ejection chamber. I lobbied to get it in here. I feel like it's our only fucking
Oh
chance to use
man.
it.
Oh, I
Star
forgot
Trek
about that.
Discovery, Season 4, Episode 11, Sub Rosa Eta.
Nice.
Okay. Sad thing is that was that was a good episode compared to what comes next.
Oh, have mercy.
Have mercy. I would have rather watched John Stamos do anything for an hour. Okay. Star Trek Picard
I'm
season
just gonna go on the
2,
record.
episode 8.
Yeah, and I'm
Mercy.
just gonna go on the record as saying that, maybe I'm being ethnically insensitive here, but if I have to read subtitles so much in the 8th episode of a season of an English show, you're doing something wrong.
I felt like I was watching fucking Narcos.
It's terrible. Yeah, because I don't want to steal your thunder. We'll go through the recap, but just know that I'm gonna have things to say.
Well, first of all, let me say, I don't even know what to recap because I know I said that not a lot happened in Disco, but I really mean fuck all happened in this episode. All of our protagonists are in almost literally the exact same spot they ended last episode in, with basically the exact same information. Picard and Guinan ended last episode in jail. They're still in jail. They got pretty much no new information. And that whole thing with the cop, the time cop, who turned out to be a regular cop, or maybe he's the granddaddy of a time cop, was pointless. They didn't learn anything new. Q could have just come to the bar and we could have skipped that whole fucking subplot.
No, because
Seven
Q
and
had to take his time because he's sick, and his little snippety snap doesn't work anymore because humans are so stuck in the past.
I
And
understand that, but he could have taken a cab to the bar and he could have done the exact same thing.
God damn it,
Seven
Q in
and
a
Rafi
cab. That's
are literally on
fantastic.
the same fucking block. They just went around the corner from the bar they were at last week. And what did they learn? They learned Girardi is trying to get her shit together enough to create a Borg army, which is exactly what they fucking learned last week. Rios and Hot Doctor, or if you can't read the subtitles, Doctora Caliente, are still on the fucking ship, eating cake now instead of drinking coffee. They didn't go forward any. Corey, or Soji, or whatever the fuck her name is, last week she learned that she was a test tube baby from the video files. This week she learned she was a test tube baby from Soong directly. I guess she got cured freedom, whatever. Essentially, I mean, I'm not really exaggerating here. Pretty much the only thing that happened that moved the plot forward was the last 2 minutes when Girardi got to Sung and said, I don't need to lecture you on futile being resistant. And then she said, get me an army, which she can apparently fucking do. I don't know. And then started assimilating them. Hey, am I wrong here?
Look, this
What was
episode.
the point of this episode?
This episode was about trying to blow your mind with how creative they are. Where Girardi is sucking lithium from cell phone batteries and then goes down the street of wet cell batteries in cars, which are not lithium, by the way.
Yeah. Well, you
They're
don't know about it in
acid.
2024 in California, Willie.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. And so, also, but she did get to parkour her way around like a fucking Street Fighter 2 turbo game. And, but it's okay because Girardi's actually in there, so she didn't totally choke Rafi out, who, by the way, just pops up and starts talking again. I'm pretty sure if you've been held up by your throat to the point that you can't breathe, you're not going to be okay when you do get up,
Yeah.
This is like Queen Amidala falling out of a ship and rolling around for like 10 seconds and then be like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yes," and jumps up and runs wind sprints. Like, that was stupid. This was stupid. But we did get some good back and forth with Seven and Rafi about, look, what's worse? Detmer's 15 seconds of fame to get her backstory, or Rafi being manipulative of Elrod?
I've got to say, I have things to say here. Okay. I have
So
been, look, I have been harsh on Rafi. I've said she's a shitty character. She's a shitty person. There's no way she should be back in Starfleet. I've not taken it easy on Rafi. After seeing this episode, I feel so completely vindicated.
because she
Rafi's a
totally is a shitty person.
fucking piece of shit. Okay. First of all, trauma is another theme of this episode, right? Because
Obviously,
humans are
yeah.
stuck in the past, and usually with something, Picard's stuck in the past with his mom. Rafi's stuck in the past with Elnor's death. Seven stuck in the past.
Way to really take the wind out of Zephram Cochrane's sails, huh? With this episode.
Hang on. Oh yeah, Wells is stuck in the past. Anyway, but everybody's showing a little bit of compassion about everybody else's trauma. Most traumatic event. Rafi, in a half joking, half self-serving, or part joking, part self-serving, part cynical, part mocking tone, is like, all right, org up, lady. Rush back to your most traumatic experience just to help us out here. I swear to God, if she was with a Holocaust survivor hunting Nazis, she'd be like, all right, Auschwitz up, lady. Tell me how they think.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and finally Seven has had enough of her bullshit, and she's like, Rafi, shut the fuck up. You are a manipulative cunt. Everybody sees it. Everybody knows it. Get the fuck off my back immediately. And then we get a flashback that shows she's exactly right. And with Elnor, who grew up, was raised by this Kawat militia, whatever it is, who Rafi took as her sort of surrogate son because her actual son won't have anything to do with her because she's a piece of shit. It's a second chance with him. And what does she do when he wants to, follow his own path? She's like, oh, well, I thought you loved me and you were gonna be like me. But I guess if you don't, you could always go back to the Kalamanasha, but then we won't be Starfleet buds. But it's your life, but you can do. And just as an adult, that is absolutely fucking despicable. But as a parent doing that to your supposed child, that is emotional manipulation and borderline abuse on a level that is not okay.
Right.
Fuck Rafi.
Yeah.
Fuck Rafi.
Yeah. Now this was that little flashback scene with the grayed out edges to make you know that it was a flashback, even though it should have been pretty fucking obvious. That was pretty bad. I agree with you. Like, it just made her out to be an even worse. It didn't make you feel like, because what I felt like they were trying to do was make you feel why she felt so guilty about Eleanor. She's like, so he went back to Starfleet. Now he's dead because of me. Like I think that it had the opposite effect of what they were trying to make you feel towards Rafi.
He's dead because
But
you're an emotionally abusive narcissist.
yeah, but
I mean, he's not. It's not her fault, but she's still a piece of shit.
yeah.
And just
But how about Picard?
while
How
I'm
about
being
Picard?
irked by Rafi, they're essentially on a mission. She's a commander. Rios is a captain, but she's ordering him around like a fucking Latin bellboy.
Hmm.
There should still be a chain of command in effect, especially since it's his goddamn ship.
Yeah.
I guess it's technically not his goddamn ship. I guess it's his goddamn ship from an alternate future. Whatever. This show sucks.
How about but oh come on, you didn't love Picard like reverse interrogating his captor um to let him go and see it his way?
This FBI agent is the worst interrogator I've ever seen on any
Ever.
cop show, drama, anything.
I mean, I would have thought like if the last one hadn't have ended with like it getting raided by real FBI agents, I would have been convinced this guy was like a tinfoil hat man who just kind of like basically kidnapped him and put him in a basement somewhere.
Yeah, I had to
Because that's
remind
what he
myself.
acted like.
Yeah, I had to remind myself that there were actual FBI agents in the last episode.
Right. Because it was so terrible. And so he was he ran across Vulcans in his childhood,
Mm-hmm.
and they tried to mind meld him, even though the implication of mind melds is that it's actually like instantaneous kind of, right? It's not like downloading the sphere data, right?
Well, he's not like Willie. He pulled out before he could finish.
so and so he's scarred for life. Picard knew exactly the way to do it. You want to talk about bringing back somebody's trauma? Like fucking do the thing to them
I know.
that they're so traumatized over. So then he talks him out of it. Q rolls up. We still don't exactly understand how Q infiltrates this facility, posing as an FBI guy. Like we're
He
not
doesn't
even
have his
addressing these
powers,
things.
but he doesn't have his powers, but he somehow creates a psychiatrist office and gets attached to the Europa mission. He's an
Mhm.
FBI agent. He hacks Sung's visors to create himself as a sentient program. I don't
Yeah.
know.
So he goes in there and he's dying, but humans are always holding on to something. So then Guinan, like Last of Us, talks to him like through the walls and glass house, flicker fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And so Picard figures it out. He figures out, was this the episode? Is like, we need to go on the offense. Or
No,
was
that's
that last
last episode.
episode?
This is the episode where they found out Q was dying, and I honestly I was shocked because I thought we'd already found that out.
Mm-hmm.
Had we
Yeah,
not?
we
This is
had
what I
because
mean
we'd
about
seen
spinning
him.
our wheels. I feel like the crew is learning information they already know, or it should have been completely fucking obvious.
Well, here's some information I didn't know. Because the blah 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 blah. We met in a bar, and you can tell me one thing that is gonna
Dude,
make me fall. What the fuck was this scene?
dude, I was like, What the
It
fuck?
was so
Did
weird.
somebody tell ChatGPT to write romantic dialogue in the style of the Star Wars prequels?
It was
I was like, where
terrible.
the fuck are you going? Like, just
Yeah.
flirt with him. Imagine we're married and I'm cheating on you and you
We
don't
take a
like
trip
me.
together.
We take a trip together, but we haven't spoken in years, but our car breaks down and we're at a bar and I say, tell me something to make my sex hole wet. And you come back with...
Yeah.
And then
I
the
mean,
goddamn
well,
kid cuts him off, and I'm like, well, get used to that. If you're
well,
gonna...
here's what I didn't get. Like the scene would have made sense if her child didn't speak Spanish. Like it would have made sense, right? If that was a way that she could have communicated to him without the child knowing. But the child speaks Spanish. Like this didn't make any... speak pig Latin. Like it doesn't fucking matter. Like just talk normal in front of him. You know? I mean,
I don't know.
this was like the disco episode where the intro was in Klingon and you had subtitles in English.
I like Rios and Dr. Caliente, but
This is
I
Picante.
okay. I know hablo español. I thought Hot Doctor was Caliente, but whatever. I like him, but this was not a very good interaction. And I'm afraid Rios is going to stay in the past. The only fucking interesting character, and he's going to stay in the past to fight immigrations, do good, and all this stupid shit instead of bringing her forward. I hope that's
Oh
not the
boy,
case.
talk about your all time irony. I'm I'm gonna immigrate from the future to the past to fight immigration.
I mean, not fight immigration, fight against the injustices occurring, you
No.
know, with Corporal Dickhead at the ICE.
Oh boy, yeah, that scene was weird. Girardi, going all fucking Matrix on everybody was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, I was gonna try to make a joke about how she tried sex and then switched to the battery operated machines to get her high, but like, this episode doesn't even deserve it.
No.
I will say it made me laugh hard because after Girardi gets the Borg Queen to drop him and then she walks off, they're like, she showed mercy. Mercy's not a Borg quality. It's a Girardi quality. And I did my like Ron Swanson giggle like the really like the fucking Black Widow cynical Girardi. Yeah. Angel of mercy right there. Angel of death,
Mhm.
maybe. Oh my god.
How about them using their tricorder to charge up a cell phone in 2024?
Willie. That was goddamn stupid. But it was so on the spectrum, it was so far from the worst thing this episode that I don't even feel like it's worth mentioning.
I just love it. We just do whatever we need to do. I mean,
No, we
this
don't. That was the
this
problem. They didn't do
this
anything.
season. No,
There are
I'm saying
things that need to be done, and they didn't do
this
them.
season is Deus Ex Machina, like to the nth degree. Whenever we need some sort of machine to do some sort of thing, we're beaming in hypo sprays from across the world, right? Paris all the way to San Francisco or LA, wherever this is, right? We're just plugging a USB-C into our tricorder to power back up a phone so that we can track somebody. It's just we're finding shotguns in abandoned French wineries to kill Borg queens. Like, that you remember the episode of I don't remember South Park, where they're talking about how Family Guy comes up with their jokes, and there's just like a whale swimming balls around, and that's how they make their jokes. That's how I feel like we're solving these problems. It's like, well, let's just beam hypo spray across the world. Like, this is
It's fun.
fucking simple,
It's
like,
funny you say that because I was watching a YouTube video with my 8-year-old. She was watching these two dumb assholes, and they were making like super sandwiches, and they had a wheel that they spun, and it would be like ham, so they'd put ham on there, and then they'd spin it again. It'd be like pizza, so they'd put a slice of pizza on there, and then they'd spin it again. It's like pudding, and they just make like 14 layers. And I feel like I'm watching Picard. I think they're just spinning the fucking wheel and just throwing out whatever. And I'm kind of interested. I'm like, all right, I want to see these assholes try to take a bite of this and just, yeah, I'm morbidly curious. That's the way I feel about these next 2 episodes. I want to see these assholes take a bite of this shit sandwich that they've stacked a mile high.
Oh boy.
Remember how I said with Star
So
Trek Discovery that that episode wouldn't have bothered me if it maybe been like the 3rd episode? This episode of Picard should have been thrown out. It should have been an episode. We have got so much shit to cover in the next 2 episodes. I almost feel like it's got to be a cliffhanger.
Nah.
So I got a question for you. Who would build an android, a geneticist or a cyberneticist? Because I'm still a little fuzzy on what Soong actually is. Because growing test tube babies and creating an android there's not a whole lot of overlap in that Venn diagram, except maybe took chemistry 101.
Well, I think the Borg Queen is going to show him that cybernetics is the way to go, and he's going to switch gears because of her. But who knows?
But she didn't actually do that.
We're not on the trail to the future. Yeah, I mean, this is alternate. I don't know.
Yeah, I could subscribe to that if this was the actual timeline that we were dealing with. But
I don't know. I still don't know what the point of Soji and Soong is. I guess Soong helped her buy Seal Force 6, who didn't seem. I mean, you'd think the other 5 guys, when she assimilated the first one, would be like, that looked kind of fucked up. Are we getting paid enough to do this? But no, I'm sure she just went from one to the other, injecting her lithium-ion battery. Stupid. And it's going to set... I guess we're going to have a big gunfight.
There was a firefight! That movie was better than this.
That movie was so much... That's a good movie.
Yes, it is.
That's a good movie.
Yes, it is.
I want Willem Dafoe to show up and save us.
Even if he's overacting in his Green Goblin role.
Speaking of acting, I will say this. This is my good for the episode. I think Alison Pill, I think that's her name, is a really talented actress. I just don't like her character in everything I've ever seen her in, which is basically the Newsroom. Girardi.
Ah, okay.
And she kind of had the same arc in both of them. She started out bubbly, and I was like, okay, this is our levity character, and then took a hard turn into darkness.
Hard turn indeed.
Didn't take long for that hard turn, though.
Yeah, it took longer in Newsroom, but
I was about to say she murdered her ex like 3 episodes in.
Yeah, she's a really good actress, I think. And Girardi fucking sucks. It's a goddamn shame.
Did it almost look to you like maybe they had CGI'd her face to actually look almost Borg Queenish? Like beyond the black eyes, like I felt like her facial structure looked very Borg Queenish, like she was. She kind of was the Borg Queen in that moment. Was it just me, or is that?
No, you're not wrong.
Yeah, I think she had some makeup going on. Maybe not CG, but at least some makeup. But she's also nailing. Action. Yeah. I'm counting that as makeup.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just
But to what I was saying, she's also nailing the mannerisms of the Borg Queen really well.
Yeah.
And the speech. Willie, what would you say was good about this episode?
Give me a minute. We'll get there.
Take your time.
Probably the good. If I have to actually pick a good out, Girardi's cleavage is still here.
And now it comes attached to combat boots.
Yes, it does.
I assume she took those off the guy she murdered, but
Mm-hmm.
was never said.
I guess she has man-sized feet.
Warden, I haven't heard you say anything good about this episode yet. Would you like to enlighten us on the finer points of Mercy?
No. I don't see any. I will give them credit. You guys were talking earlier about mind melds. They have shown more protracted ones on the show before. It's not purely instantaneous, but all the time. So I'm giving them credit for that. But no, the whole damn thing is dumb. It's just dumb, and everything in the episode is unnecessary, and accomplishes nothing.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem with it. And it's the 8th episode of the season, of a 10-episode season.
This is like the opposite of the. This is the opposite of the season 1 of Disco situation. And in Disco, they took that detour into the mirror universe, and it actually kind of, as ridiculous as it was, it made things interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And they've gone back in time in this one as like a detour, and it's ridiculous, and it's just getting worse the longer we're there.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I'm still convinced that the rest of my hypothesis is going to be correct, and that the whole thing was going to be about, like, Q fixing Picard.
I think you're right, because I think he's doing it to give meaning to his life. Because he was talking about how once he was faced with mortality, he initially expected this. I guess the Q face the stages of grief in reverse, because he accepted it and was expecting like some profound meaning to materialize, and it didn't. So he's looking for meaning, and I guess his meaning is going to be getting Picard into Laris.
Basically, yeah.
Essentially, Q is the ultimate wingman.
Willing to change time to get somebody laid. Yeah.
I mean, or are they going to be able to resist the urge to it being like Q gets his wings because he helped Picard, and like Picard actually like saves him. And so he comes over and they're like, Q, we've been waiting millennia for you to do something not for yourself. Congratulations. You're now a full member of the Q continuum. And it saves him.
I mean,
I hope they don't, but that's something. It's such low hanging fruit that they would totally try and do that.
I mean, they kind of did that with Best
now
of Both
you're
Worlds.
a real boy.
Not that, but he did something. He's done things that were not. I mean, he did them in a very egotistical and selfish way, but he's frequently done things that weren't just for himself.
Isn't that what he did to get back into the Q continuum after he got kicked out? Remember when he got kicked out and made mortal?
Mm-hmm.
And
Voyager, yeah.
No, this was in Next Generation. I can't remember what all happened, but I remember at the end when he got his powers back, he snapped his fingers and 2 Ryza girls showed up on either side of Riker. Riker was like, hell yeah.
The Riker sex planet.
And, I mean, you're not wrong. Let me be nerdy and just say, point of clarification, Willie. They already said that Vulcans showed up before Zephram Cochrane. That was a revelation way back in the Enterprise, I think. Paul's grandmother was like the first Vulcan ship to.
Okay.
But the first one on, and it says it's on record at Vulcan, but the first one on record with humans is Cochrane.
I got you. Okay.
That was the official first contact because they had developed warp. Oh. Anyway.
So
Good
that
thing
was
they didn't give us the old
Mercy.
Vulcan hello, huh?
No, they did not.
But how far Michael Burnham has come from the Vulcan hello to the full quantum spread. Hold on, he's just talking to us.
Wow.
Willie, it cut deep because it's true.
And I'm just thinking from the Vulcan hello to the full quantum spread just sounds very suggestive.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Star Trek Picard, Season 2, Episode 8.
Is it over
Mercy.
yet? Are we there yet?
God damn, it was.
That's step 3. That's step 3 after the quantum spread. The Vulcan hello, the quantum spread, and then the Picard. Are we there yet?
And finally, the Lorca maneuver.
Oh boy.
I asked the question if the Discovery episode was the best of the season so far. Is this the worst Picard episode of the season so far?
I'm thinking.
I kind of have trouble really picking him out, honestly.
It may be recency bias, but it was really fucking bad.
Yeah, it was bad. But some of those early ones were pretty bad too.
That's true.
But
Let's move on.
you always, with the earlier ones, you always did have a little bit of that feeling like, this is completely dumb, but what are they doing? It was at least it was just that intriguing enough from a car wreck standpoint.
Yeah, I think that was hydrocarbon pheromone 7A.
Well, I mean,
what you're talking about.
Think about the episodes in the space Nazi future. I mean, we had shit.
God, I loved those.
They
Those were so fun
but
compared to this.
lots of stuff happened.
Yeah.
As opposed to this episode where not a goddamn thing happened. Anyway. The Hard Trek Picard. Yay. Let's move on. So let's round it out now with Star Trek Strange New World. Is it officially Star Trek Strange New Worlds, or is it just Strange New Worlds?
No, it's Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
Season 1, Episode 8, Elysian Kingdom, I think?
Yeah.
Yes.
Renaissance Fair at the Enterprise.
Oh dear.
So this episode.
Oh dear.
Before you start, I loved this episode. Tread lightly.
This episode starts.
Tread lightly. The Huntress is on your trail. Tread lightly.
This episode starts with Dr. Bongo talking about his sick kid again. And the Enterprise is in a nebula, doing nebula stuff. Spock makes some statement about jinx and things, and Pike's like, don't be silly, Spock. Pike is still working on shedding his Boy Scout reputation by being like, I like it when we just do science stuff. This is so much better than fighting. And then Taco says, are you going to say the thing, Cap?
Yep. Ortega's still being unprofessional.
And he's like, very well, hit it. And she tries, and he's like, I said hit it, not quit it. She's like, somebody check the
like Millennium Falcon.
Chewie, punch it.
Okay. They told me they fixed it. It's not my fault. So they say, well, let's try impulse. And
that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
And then boom, everybody, Lieutenant Taco splits her head open. So they call Bongo. Bongo the
My
bridge.
God.
And he wakes up from trying to sleep, gets up there, and the door slides open, and he's now dressed like Flavor Flav.
Why did it not have anything to do with like him huffing the chemical? Like that scene had nothing to do with anything.
That was the red herring to make you think that it was.
That he was hallucinating.
So then I'm not going to go through this whole episode as far as a recap because it basically just plays out the story, finds Himmer. He's the only other one that's unaffected. They get to the end of the story. Turns out the anomaly was Deborah and wanted a friend, and found the kid. And he says, "Well, if you want to go play with your new space anomaly friend, I guess that's fine, but it's up to you because you're a 4-year-old and you can make decisions like that." She's like, "I do, Daddy." Bye-bye. We're left with this sinking feeling of did it work for 0.67 seconds because she's like, "I'm back, Daddy, and now I'm grown, and you were right. So bye-bye again." And then nobody remembered anything. Okay.
And the ship's first officer doesn't, freak the fuck out when she finds the one person on the whole crew who knows the last 5 hours and what happened. She's like,
I bet that's a story.
that's probably a heck of a story.
Oh, it's quite a story.
So,
Hang on.
I loved this episode.
Let me go to Warden first. Warden, what was good in this episode?
My feelings about this episode are still gelling, but
Like a felling.
so
So stupid.
I'm actually gonna twist this a bit, and I'm gonna start with the bad, and work up to the good. The bad is that it was just
You take the bad. Wait, no. You take the bad, you take the good, and then I don't remember the fucking words. The facts of life. The facts of life.
Milk lemonade around the corner fudge made. I don't.
Oh boy.
Oh, I taught my kid that. That was hilarious, and they went and showed their mom. And it was the longest funny.
okay.
Oh Jesus.
Hey Willie, you'll be able to teach him to do it in a chorus line.
That's right. Like the sounds of music. All right.
Okay, so I'm going to start with I did not care for this episode.
Okay.
And basically what it comes down to is it's just plain goofy. This would not be the first time that Star Trek went this way, but I mean, I don't know. It was just way over the top, and I was gonna punch Pike. I was getting so tired of that.
You mean the Chamberlain?
Yes.
Well, he didn't have any hair products.
True. But it was so cringy, and it was just, I was just, I actually felt uncomfortable watching it. I guess the hubris is that they tried to take the kind of an episode they've done before and kind of like dial it up to 11. See, the thing is it always seems like when they do this sort of thing, like a holodeck episode or something like this, where they are placed in like the Robin Hood episode or whatever, and they all know who the hell they are. and it's just and the humor is found in them being put into situation. This is the case where there only two of them knew who they were, and for most of the episode you think only one of them knows who they are, and it's just and then the rest of them are just being I mean, I don't know. So I mean, and maybe I just need to get a sense of humor, but I thought I had one. But anyway, um the thing that I liked about it is, I mean, and maybe I'm just too easy, and you're right. I mean, it's incredibly implausible. Um, all of these parental decisions at the end. Um, but they at least tried to bring it around to something interesting. I mean, it feels like an episode worth different execution could have actually been decent. Um, but it's yeah, I just don't know. As a parent, even a step parent, I would have made the same decisions.
That would have been really hard.
That would have been, but I mean, but at the same time, it's almost like, they didn't. The thing that made it difficult is to buy is that the decisions were made relatively quickly. That you need to agonize over that one a little bit more than that. A little bit more resistance.
He passed the buck to his 4-year-old. He's like, I can't make that decision.
And I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with the idea of handing over decision making to a 14-year-old. So like a 4-year-old is no.
He's older than 4, but
Yeah,
7.
Not old enough, regardless.
Right.
Like 7, right? Maybe-ish.
Hey, little girl, how about you make an utterly life-changing decision that you have no context for how the ramifications for this decision and what it might end up being?
What do you think? Should we go for ice cream, or should you merge your consciousness with a space nebula?
It's just, I mean, on the one hand, I do actually kind of appreciate the fact that they ended up trying to resolve this side arc plot line in a way that's non-obvious, because the obvious thing would have been just like, okay, somewhere along the way, he discovers the cure, she gets healed, and everything's happy.
Right.
Or even for a minute, I was like, "Oh God, they're Deus Ex Machinaing this thing," which was going to be really disappointing, because I thought that it was going to be one of those things where she's all better now, and but like the fact that they actually made it come with a cost was actually kind of cool.
But then they immediately took the cost away.
Yeah.
They let that cost sit for about a half a second.
I mean, granted, there's still a cost. I mean, his daughter's gone. He's not going to have her around anymore. Generally, but there's the possibility of going back to see her. So I guess, but yeah, I think it's just it's frustrating. I think that's what this restaurant. It's not so much that it's even that I don't like this episode is bad, is that it's just frustrating. No, it's bad because God, Pike was cringe. That was hard to watch.
Well, that's how.
Willie, what would you pick? What's your pick for the bad in this episode?
The actual bad was, I mean, the episode as a whole was pretty eye rolling. Yeah, the part at the end where you've got a character who has basically circumvented protocols throughout Starfleet to keep his daughter alive and keep her in that pattern buffer and bring her out. Spends all his spare time running experiments and trying to find a cure. the motivation for that character to just be like, you know what? Peace out, homie.
Yeah.
It's not there. It didn't fit, right?
Well, I felt like he did. The beginning of the episode was trying to establish that, like, he was running out of time and just kept coming up against a wall, and he had kind of reached the point where he was losing faith that he could fix it.
Yeah.
That was kind of what I thought.
But anyway,
So that was bad. Good.
I didn't do my research, but the whole spontaneous brain thing.
Oh
With this
yeah, I meant
episode
to look that
basically
up.
being predicated on that. And like I said, I didn't look it up. Maybe that's a thing, but I remember feeling like, okay, that felt a little stilted, you know. By the way, the actor who plays Himmer is blind. I learned that.
Well, that makes
so-
sense. The character's blind, so.
Yep. But no, I mean it was. See, y'all say it's cringe, and yeah, it was cringe. But if you think about every character there, like think about what La'an, like her character, right? It wasn't that it was cringe; it was that everybody was just being so flamboyantly opposite to what they normally are,
Mhm.
right? That
Hmm.
that you could almost appreciate that they were just kind of having fun with the role, like
I to be fair, I never said it was cringe.
yeah.
I don't think. Maybe I did.
No, no, you didn't. That was Warden's word. But like, yes, Pike was just ridiculous. But he was supposed to be ridiculous, right? He was supposed to be like the weasel. Like he was the fucking Grima Wormtongue
Yeah.
of this episode, you know. And Lon had a little Yorkshire Terrier that she named Runa, right? Like,
It was wearing a matching dress.
yeah. And then, of course, you know, Una being the huntress was really not all that different. But then they apparently made them gay because it's Star Trek. We have to. And then Himmer being like, "What the fuck? I will have you court-martialed. Stop dragging me." Like, you know, it was. I don't know. It was kind of fun. I mean, but also, you motherfuckers jumped on me like last week when I said the episode didn't advance anything. It was just episodic, and you jumped on me about that, saying, "Hey, that's what real Star Trek is."
I
So
didn't say real Star Trek. I said the episodic the
okay,
episodic focus.
okay.
Are you
So
talking about me complaining about Picard and Disco not advancing the plot?
no, I was complaining about Strange New Worlds with the pirate ship episode. I was like, "What did this do?" Like it was just kind of it just happened, and
Right,
that's
I
when y'all
know,
said,
but are
"Well,
you?
sometimes." No,
Yeah, I
no, no.
know, but what are you transferring that to for this week? Because I said that the other two shows didn't advance
No,
the plot.
this one, that y'all didn't like this episode. Um, like it was to me, it was a holodeck episode. It was just meant to be kind of goofy and silly, and it gave the characters a chance to just kind of let their hair down, so to speak. You know, literally in the case of Pike. Um, and you know, they just kind of were, they just kind of had fun with it, and I guess I appreciated that we definitely did not take ourselves too seriously at all in this episode, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Mhm.
And yeah, so anyway, I mean that was and I will at least give it to them. They set, even though the whole brain thing may have been a bit too out there, they set it up okay, right? So like he's telling the story to his daughter, you know, and then somehow this consciousness that has probably been observing them as much as they were observing it, you know, kind of hears that. And I feel like that has been done in Star Trek before, where this creature like kind of hears something out of context and then makes that like a reality, you know?
Well,
Mhm.
and it was like a non-corporeal energy based being. And I mean, I kind of assumed that the only reason it was able to read the girl's mind is because she was in the pattern buffer as just a non-corporeal consciousness
Right.
Mhm.
or non-consciousness, because that was kind of the twist midway through was Bongo thought it was coming from him, but then when he saw that they were lesed up, he's like, "Oh no, that was my daughter that was shipping them." So he's not reading my brain; he's reading hers.
Yeah. I thought it was cheap that they didn't let Kimmer or Kimmler or Himmler or whoever remember
Hammer?
it. Yeah, I thought that was cheap. Like that would
Hammer?
have been a good way to have developed those two characters like
Have
relationship.
a shared, yeah.
I don't know if we know
Um,
Himmer's first name, but it would be great as a callback to Disco if they named him Dick Himmer.
the camera. Oh man.
It is his name is just Hammer. He has at least
God,
50.
y'all remember when Disco was fun?
I do.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
And we're
Jeez.
gonna start talking.
All right.
Yeah, that was so anyway, so yeah, that was kind of how I felt. I was obviously, being pedantic when I said I loved it, but I didn't. I was able to watch that episode, and maybe it had the benefit that I watched it after Disco and Picard. But even though it was totally goofy and silly, I gave it a pass. Like I watched it. I said, hey, we're getting to see Mbinga's day in the sun, right? And we've kind of made Lon to be just the joke, the running gag of the episode. The same with Pike, you know.
Everybody was a running
Yeah,
joke.
I mean
in that
everybody
episode.
was a running gag. So, yeah.
So
But then yeah, how we buttoned it up at the end and tied it up with a nice little bow was pretty stupid, you know.
I felt like we earned a happy child ending, considering the last one we plugged in as a fucking
Fair.
pattern.
That's
Fair.
true.
Yes.
That's true.
Yes.
Oh,
That's fair, and maybe the writers they deserve that, because imagine
they
having
earned that one. God damn it!
I
Let's
just
see.
need to write something happy.
How many children do I have to dessicate to write a goddamn fairy tale ending? Just one? Okay. Done. All right. So when I talk to people about shows, like, okay, I know everything's subjective and everything, but like, I don't think that just because you like something makes it good. Like, you can objectively say this is not a very good episode, but still like it.
Mhm.
Like, I don't, objectively speaking, there's probably some issues with this, and it's not among the greats and everything. But I fucking loved this episode. I thought it was an absolute delight. It is my favorite Star Trek episode that I have watched in years. I had so much fun with it. I loved the way that they, when they did the Cupid episode, for example, they took them to Sherwood Forest. I loved how it was still the bridge. They just hung curtains
Yes,
and
that was
banners
pretty cool.
everywhere. I love, and see, this is why Strange New Worlds is so much fucking better than Disco, is because since these characters have actually been given a chance to have a character, then you can make them so far the opposite that it really becomes fun. Like, Pike is this brave, leader, uncompromising, high morals. So to see him go to this sniveling coward who just switches sides based on how the wind's blowing and is only concerned with himself, it's funny. And I think Anson Mount's a great actor. Like, he impressed me in the Inhuman series as Black Bolt, because I'm like, when you can't fucking say anything, you have to be a decent actor. La'an, we've seen her all season. Like, I think she would have been annoying in this episode if we didn't know that her character was 100% business, the absolute opposite of anything cutesy, pure tomboy. So for her to come in and be like, my puppy died, only wants to leave the kingdom. Enjoy it. And for her to be basically helpless, you know, Taco's been totally unprofessional and nonchalant about everything. So to see her be like, duty above all, I must protect the king. Spock being logic, and then for him to go and all of a sudden now he's wizard and magic. Uhura being the lowest ranking person and very, I guess, kind of shy. And for her to go and be just boisterous, the one in charge, and I mean, mustache twirling evil.
Mm-hmm.
If you tried to make the characters on Disco their polar opposites, I wouldn't even know where to start because they're not fucking characters. And
Yeah.
I loved what this episode did with Himmer because he was not affected, and the fact that he is so gruff and annoying and everything, but then when he like looked around and saw what was going on,
Abracadabra.
he just goddamn leaned into it, and it's like it told you something about like there's something down there, in his personality that he enjoys hamming it up.
Hijinks.
Yeah. And I liked finding that out about him, and I really hate that he didn't remember that. In fact, I think that the big misstep is that none of them remembered because it really would have been fun to like watch Lon go over the security tapes and be like, "Oh my god, I had a puppy in a matching dress," And I think that maybe there could have been a little bit of a lingering moment in between when Mongo sent his daughter away, and he has to really wonder, did he do the right thing instead of just immediately bringing her back? But again, I felt like we had already done the depressing end of the child story with "Love Lift Us Up Where We Belong" or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fine with that. I was willing to give him a pass there because I think it would have really been a weird tonal shift, I guess. But I do like the fact that there was a reason to all this and a lingering consequence, unlike a lot of the holodeck episodes where we get out and you're just like, that was a weird thing. And I thought it was cool that they wrapped up a season, an arc in the season. I mean,
Yeah.
as opposed to Picard, it's got 18 dangling plot threads that I don't think are ever going to get. I don't think anything has gotten resolved all goddamn season in Picard, and I don't know that a lot of it will. So yeah, I worry a little bit that Bongo's not going to be as interesting because that was kind of his only thing. But I wish they had more Chapel in it. I guess. I love the fact that the disposable lackeys were the Crimson Guard instead of the red shirts.
I did. That was good. That was
Oh my
very good.
god. I loved this episode. I absolutely I am being 100% genuine and sincere. I loved this episode.
Mhm. Yeah, like I said, I had fun with it. I mean, it was fun seeing all those characters just be able to kind of, you know, it, and they all just kind of leaned into it, like you said. I mean, you were talking more about like the actual episodic nature of Himmer, but I mean, like I said, I actually went and researched the actress who played Lon after this because I was like, wow, this is really, really like different, I was like, what is her like pedigree as an actress? Um, but anyway, no, I thought it was like I said, I had fun with it. I definitely wouldn't say that I loved it like, as much as you obviously did, but I had fun with it, and yeah, the ending was maybe a little bit ooh, that may not have been the best, most sensible decision, but everything up to that point, man, I agree. Not letting Hammer remember it, I think was a misstep,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, kind of to what you were saying, Willie. I do look at these episodes, and I guess maybe it's my theater background, but I look at it, and I'm like, these actors have to be having so much goddamn fun with this, just hamming it up, chewing the scenery. It's kind of like I think made the same point about the Mirror Universe episodes. Like, it has to be a lot of fun as an actor to just be like, all right, I don't have to do anything seriously. I'm just going to be as evil as possible. This one's probably actually took more talent to pull it off because like Hike was funny without, I thought, being too annoying. A lot of it could have easily gotten annoying, but I thought it was great. Anyway.
Yeah, and it might be that part of me was just like, oh God, where are they going with this? Oh God, where are they going with this? If I watched it again, I might appreciate it more. I don't know. I didn't hate it. It was just like, I don't know. I've always had this, and I can do this. I do this really bad with sitcoms, but when people are acting at a level that when people are beyond a certain point of silly, for whatever reason, it triggers things for me where it makes me feel uncomfortable because I spent a lot of my life being really worried about looking silly. So, that might be just my baggage that I need to continue working on.
Are you
All
saying you're
humans live in the
stuck in the
past.
past?
I beat you to it, motherfucker.
Damn it. Touche,
But yeah,
Willie.
I mean, I thought it was. I mean, I don't know why, but I did get I got a kick out of Spock. I don't know why, but and you the way you laid it out, it's all very true. They were very clever about how they put the episode together, um, in terms of making and I it just maybe it's just that I wasn't ready for this.
Like his
I
secret pathway around the deadly swamp was the Jeffries tube,
Yeah.
and they called the computer the Oracle.
Oh,
Mhm.
one. This isn't even a thing that would be apparent if you didn't have subtitles on. But it annoys the crap of me that they don't know how to spell caster.
How do they spell it?
Caster. And it was obvious that they were making a Castor and Pollux reference. They were brothers, the whole thing. And they spelled Pollux right. But they spelled it ER, not OR. And I know that's just like minuscule. But it's just.
See, I watched it with subtitles, and I thought that they were doing a thing where they did that, but then made it Caster because he was a wizard.
Yeah, that's what I thought. They kept calling him that as like almost like a pejorative. Like,
No,
you
his
dirty
name was
caster.
Caster. No, his name was
Yeah.
Caster, but I thought that they changed it specifically since he was a wizard in this case. Because Castor and Pollux weren't wizards, right? They were
No.
gods or demigods.
Yeah. It's Greek
But you're
pantheon.
right. That's probably me giving this episode too much credit. That's probably the people at the subtitles department not knowing what they're doing.
Well, but it's also in it's like in the memory alpha article they spell it that way. So I'm pretty sure that that's just how they intended to spell it. And
I actually
okay,
thought I actually thought they were potentially going to kill him or off there at the end. Because he talked about how like what a burden it was to try and actually communicate with that being, but it was going to be like his thing, right? He was going to do it to
uh,
save the ship.
I don't know. Given the tone of this episode, that would have. I mean, it's one thing to have Mbenga's daughter go off, having having Hemmer just flat out die
That was not the tone of this episode.
That's true.
that
That's
would
true.
have been a record scratch. That would have just been like, huh?
Holy
That's
shit.
true.
So I looked
That's true.
up Caster since I was not going to memory alpha this, but when you said that, I looked at. Do you know who wrote the book that he's reading? Who they have the author credit as?
No.
Benny Russell.
Ah! Ah!
That's awesome. Oh. Willie, have you seen? It's one of the iconic episodes of DS9, the one where Avery Brooks is the science fiction writer in the 50s or something, and they won't publish his paper because he's a colored man and all this. And he plays.
No,
He's
I have
Benny
not
Russell.
seen that one.
God damn, you need to watch that.
I need to watch DS9 or more, or the rest of DS9.
It's called Far Beyond the Stars, and you don't need any context for it. It's just it's a really good one. It's one of these holodeck type episodes where everybody's in a different character, kind of, but it's way more heavy.
Yeah. Okay.
And anyway, Benny Russell's an author in there. It's good. It's worth watching.
Okay.
I know you've seen it, Warden.
Yeah. It's been a while, but yes, I've seen it.
Okay.
Well, once again, I think I know where we're all gonna place our votes.
It's a real shame for me because I feel like this is the best Discovery episode we've gotten in a long time. But it happened to go up against, I thought a really good Strange New Worlds. All right. Well, Warden's feelings were still gelling. So, Willie, what is your pick for the good this week?
Well, the good was Strange New Worlds by a long shot.
And where does that leave the bad?
The bad's gonna be Picard again. I go back and forth between these, but I have a reason. I'm going to give Picard the bad because, as we lamented, it just really didn't do anything. The episode happened, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Which then leaves Discovery as the hubris. And even though I thought the episode was more akin to a Star Trek episode than what they've managed to accomplish probably since Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the fact that you're
Seed Vault episode was good. I really liked
Seed
that
Vault
one.
episode was good. But it was just the fact that you were this far into the season. And I mean it's like they've been edging us for the last like 3 or 4 episodes, but not in a good way.
Right.
So it's like you get here and like at this point, like I was genuinely interested to see what was behind the silly putty at one point in time, right? But now it's just like we've just, I guess, so that's why I give it the hubris is that they think the audience is just patiently waiting and eating all this up. At this point we're like, you don't realize that you have to create tension, and that it has to be released in a satisfying way for the reader or for the watcher or for whatever. That's just what good storytelling is, right? And I feel like at this point, we've been sitting there with blue balls for so long, like we just don't care anymore. At this point, we're just like, just get it over with, So
this episode is hubris in the way that the hare exemplifies hubris in the story, The Tortoise and the Hare. Because the season's just plodding along and the writers are like fucking off like, I got time. And then I think next episode they're going to be like, "Oh shit, the race is almost over," and like just sprint towards the finish line and fall on their goddamn face.
The
This is
tortoise bit clean through the calf muscle of the hare, drug him to the side where he was devoured alive by all the other tortoises. The pain in
okay.
the ass chief of medicine, not the hare. Bit clean through the calf muscle, the pain in the ass chief of medicine.
What?
I was trying to parse that. I'm glad I'm not the only one that was confused.
It was a Scrubs episode. Dr. Cox told the story.
That sounds like a
Dr.
Dr.
Kelso.
Cox. Yeah.
It's a violent child story, Bob, but it's one that stuck with me. So
Oh my god, we need more Dr. Cox. I wish he was the chief of medicine on Disco, but then he'd only show up once a season.
yeah, but it would be better.
That would be my favorite episode. I don't think I can really bury the lead any on which one is my pick for the good. You know, like I said, I loved the Strange New Worlds episode. On a different week, I would have given a pass. I might have thrown Disco a bone and given, because I don't think that it's a bad episode. But like I just said, the hubris of it is walking around, dick swinging in the wind, strutting around when the clock is ticking, and knowing that you've only got 2 episodes to wrap this shit up, and you do an episode that is, like I said, one half of a decent Star Trek episode. Like, this is a first contact kind of thing where they learn how to communicate. That's like act 1 or 2 of a typical Star Trek episode, and then in act 3 you would have finished it off. So it's not even a whole good episode. It's like part of a good episode.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll go with Hubris for it, because there's just I can't. I don't even feel like Picard deserves a grade.
He's a DN, did not complete.
DNF
DNF.
did not finish. Yeah. Warden, have your thoughts gelled
Oh
yet?
yeah.
Has your Boltzmann brain sprung into existence to?
I don't know about that. Yeah, no, I mean, this is going to be repetitive because, I mean, yeah, it is very clear the Strange New Worlds episode was the best of the 3. And like I said, I didn't hate it. I mean, it was just, for my temperament, a little uncomfortable. But yeah, no, I mean, and I think they did some clever things. They did it well. It's just it was just not necessarily my speed. That might be a better way to put it. The hubris was definitely discovery. I take a slightly different spin on it, though you make excellent points. I just think it was hubris for them to think that, they actually had the ability to do a regular Star Trek episode.
Yeah. That is a fair criticism.
Because they've never demonstrated that ability so far. So, and to do it so out of the blue in the 4th fucking season. So yeah, that's my hubris, and then Picard was just, I still don't know what the fuck that was.
Right. Neither do the writers.
Glenn's
All
on
right.
strike.
I wish.
Hey, as much as we knocked Glenn, if he's responsible for season 1, it's peak Disco. It has never been better than it was the first season. And if you'd have told me that 3 years ago. Jesus Christ.
We probably wouldn't be doing this show anymore.
We probably
Yeah.
would not. Oh my God. All right. Well, next week, as I
I feel like
mentioned
I feel like
earlier,
I still need to remind you that like Lethe was in season 1, right? there were some real turds in season 1, but
But
about 6 episodes were were peak disco.
Lethe was terrible, but it wasn't Unification 3 bad.
there are different degrees of terrible, and it's I mean, terrible you can make fun of is still good in its own way. Then there's also terrible that you just lose the will to live. And
Jesus, Warden.
I mean, Lethe,
Some harsh criticism.
didn't Lethe, wasn't that where they like Matrix kicked each other out of their Katras or some shit?
which was ridiculously awesome in its own way.
I mean, it was just
Yeah.
hilarious, and she was like a disembodied and talking to Sarek. Um, it was
Disco
so
Sarek.
stupid.
I miss Disco Sarek.
Yeah.
I miss Disco Amanda too. Oh my God. Yes, Lethe was bad, but like, I mean, you had the whole Dog, and you had Lorca, and you had the Mirror Universe, and you had Culver dying but being put back together from semen. And I mean, I haven't even thought about the Jesuits in like 2 years, but it was all fun. And them eating 90% of Disco's whole, but it being fine the next week. Or
Well,
how about
was that season 1 or season 2?
that was season 1? Because Ash Tyler broke his neck when he was.
Yeah, that's right. When he was
You
a
had.
Klingon. Hold on, let me do it. He was a Klingon who had his consciousness grafted onto Ash Tyler's, and then had surgical alterations to make him look like a human, but he was still a Klingon. Did I get it?
I did
More or
as I
less.
know. You had Lorca making jokes about how Lacrael didn't even have the right number of holes for him.
Yeah. Or vice versa.
Or yeah, had too many holes for him. And you had us making fun of the shuttles, the convertible shuttles that they kept using and kept getting fucked over with. I mean, you had Admiral Doctor, and Admirals getting captured left and right. The whole Klingon War was so fucking stupid.
Eating
Speaking of
JoJo.
Kalis, I loved. I mean, I don't want to watch it again, but it's so much. It's so much more fun.
Photon torpedo embedding itself in the hull,
Mhm.
and Admiral Doctor going all fucking Bruce Willis on Armageddon. Oh boy.
The episode where we talk about them going to the mirror universe and trying to figure out if Admiral Doctor's on the ship. That's one of my favorite episodes of sheer fucking hubris. You had remember we had the glitter sparklians
Yes.
and Saru running like a goddamn horse.
For the antenna dicks, right?
Crushing tricorders with his bare hands, and the glitter sparklians trying to create peace. Summoning
Saru
Klingons.
angry.
Yeah, Saru's mad.
Oh
Oh
boy.
my God. There is nothing that season 3 or 4 had that approaches any of that. I would take that every day over fucking
That's fair.
Cal screaming or Unification 3 or whatever the shit we've done. Goth book. Oh,
Well, it's probably because even as fucked up as it was at least Star Trek adjacent. Like, this isn't even Star Trek what they're doing anymore, right? It's It's space opera with Star Trek as the backdrop.
Do you remember we jumped onto a ship that had its spore drive fail and twisted the crew up like fucking French braid?
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Do you think they're actually? Do you think they have it in them to go at least partially full circle in that last season they're going to do, and make some references to stuff that they left behind, or is that truly over with? We're not going to see
we're not going.
Tardidogs or anything, or
I think what's going to happen is they're going to go back in time
No, they're not.
somehow. No. Hear me out. They're going to go back in time somehow. And then the season is going to close out with like Michelangelo's Last Supper. And the whole bridge crew will be the disciples and Burnham will be Jesus. And it'll be like a slow fade of the not Michelangelo, Da Vinci's Last Supper. What did Da Vinci? Anyway, you know what I'm talking about, the painting. And Burnham will be
Yeah.
Jesus,
Huh?
and then the whole crew will be the disciples, and then Lorca will be Judas, and then that'll be how like the season ends, and you'll finally get your Jesus Michael Burnham released.
Well, I hate to break it to y'all, but it sounded like it was a surprise that it got canceled because I remember reading they were going back and doing reshoots to give it an ending.
Yeah,
So I highly doubt, unfortunately, that there's any callbacks. I think they're trucking along on the Melrose Space 90210 bullshit. And yeah, I think season 5 is gonna suck. It'll be interesting because I'm not sure season 4 is worse than season 3. Season 3 is far and away better the first half. It had some pretty good, pretty solid episodes in the first third to a half, and it just went totally fucking off the rails. But season 4, I mean, if season 4 could just pull off like a bad finale, it might end up being better than season 3.
it'll be a
Now, that's
freaking
how-
revelation if it could even pull off a meh.
Yeah, I mean, I think might elevate it above season 3 because season 3 was so abysmal at the end. Oh, okay. 2 episodes left. I see a light at the end of the tunnel. She's starting to climax. Gotta keep the head down.
you've got your head down and you are going after it.
Jaw clicking and shit. All right. I don't know what the name of the episodes are next week. It doesn't matter. I don't care. We can look them up, I guess, but I'm not gonna. All right. Should I say the thing? The thing? Should I say the thing?
Yeah,
mean,
you just
sure.
said the thing.
Warden, hit it.
All right, this is Biblio Warden, Joe Bob, and Mr. Willie signing off.